Good morning, everyone. So for this session, we are glad of having with us Gabrielle Bernoville. And Gabrielle is Policy Assistant at the European Commission. Good morning, Gabrielle.
Good
And,
morning, Andrea. Good
and
morning.
thank you for accepting our invitation. First of all, can you please introduce more about yourself, your background, your experience and responsibility at the European Commission, please?
Of course, thanks a lot, Andrea, for this opportunity to address you this morning. And I'm very delighted to be part of this inspiring project. So it's always good to spread the word and discover more about what the EU can be doing and what the EU is doing for culture and for cultural heritage. My name is Gabrielle. I'm working as a policy assistant on Creative Europe, which is a European funding scheme, so financial instrument to finance cultural and creative sectors, cultural and creative industries. I've been working there for the past 3 years, and my background is in cultural policy and political science and international relations.
During the previous interview, we discussed with our participant about the importance of increased resilience and participation of community, regenerate city and region through cultural heritage, and find a good balance between cultural heritage and sustainable cultural tourism. Today, thanks the opportunity of having you, we would like to better understand the meaning of participatory model and governance. We went through a bit more about in the website of the European Commission, and we found about the adoption of the resolution on last November 2022, which set out several priorities to address the main challenges facing the culture and creative sector. The resolution is focused on 4 different but complementary priorities, and we are a bit more focused on the second one that is related to culture for people. This is the priority to enhance cultural participation and the role of culture in society. So our first question is this one. What do you think we have to do or do you think we are doing enough to preserve the identity and contribute to the sustainable development of social inclusion and territorial cohesion?
Mhm. Thanks a lot, Andrea, and thanks a lot for, I would say, setting the framework and setting the scene for the cultural heritage policy of the European Union and the European Commission. As you know, I think it's important to start saying and stressing that according to the treaties and according to the subsidiarity principle that is ruling our union of citizens and our union of culture, cultural heritage and heritage per se is not yet and not according to the legal base and according to the treaties a competence of the EU and competence of the European Commission. We cannot directly enact on it. So which means that it's still a member states owned competence and territory. And our role at the European Union and at the European Commission is just to accompany, to guide, to support and help member states when they cannot perhaps where they cannot, I would say, act themselves. So it's really like this complementarity principle that is guiding our action. Cultural heritage is thereupon supported in terms of legal background by a set of principles, a set of frameworks and documents, which is basically, as you are mentioning, it, I would say, derived from the Council conclusion. So at the European Union, we have 3 main institutions: the Parliament, the Council, and the Commission. Parliament and the Council, they're the co-legislators, so they're the one, I would say, of course, enacting the laws. And that's why we were receiving a new set of priorities for the coming year. You listed a few of them. Cultural heritage is still extremely well backed up, legally speaking, and is still seen and I would say, addressed and approached as a common responsibility. It's a common good, which means that it's a very people-centered topic, and its preservation is safeguarding is, of course, following this definition that the European Commission and European Commission communication has enacted and edited. The digital shift that you were touching upon
Yeah.
is an amazing opportunity, I would say, to engage audiences in new ways. And of course, this has been proven and this has been identified and studied extensively in the aftermath of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I will not restate what many reports have been made very clear, that we need those digital tools and those digital technology to really make sure that we are broadening our audience, that we are reaching our audiences, and that's something that is very core to the European Union message of transnationalism. And beyond this digital shift, I do see in the past decade really like a people shift or people-centered shift or audience shift, meaning that nowadays heritage sites, museums, they are more and more community oriented and community driven. So we see a lot of amazingly, I would say, promising examples and good practices and success stories, new narratives as well, of cases where the communities, the neighborhood, the audience, the people themselves, their stories are in the center, at the core of the interpretation of larger historical events, but as well as the interpretation of what it is nowadays to safeguard and conserve our cultural heritage. So the whole idea is to encompass tangible, intangible, and digital heritage, to really enlarge ownership, the spectrum of ownership, and to make local engagement and shared responsibility a necessity for sustainable, scalable, and forward-looking management of cultural heritage. And this is why we are collaborating a lot with cities, with towns, with villages, with different kind of actors at the local level. A quotation by Jean Monnet that really inspired me in my daily work, since I'm in charge of some cultural heritage related projects, such as the European Heritage Label, which is a very exciting initiative of the EU. I must say a quotation that really resonates in me right now is Jean Monnet, I think, if I'm not mistaken, who stated once that we are not uniting government, but really people. So the whole idea is to use cultural heritage as a magic wand, as a tool to stimulate active citizenship, to build trust, to recompose trust, transparency, civic participation, and social cohesion. And thanks on our different tools, we cannot enact directly, but we can consult. We have a lot of what we are calling soft laws. So those are participatory governments tools and working groups that are enabling us to touch upon topics, to discuss matters such as cultural heritage participation and accessibility with representatives of the member states. So it's another way to invite them to reconsider their own framework of action. And thanks to our collaboration with ICOMOS, the UNESCO, the Council of Europe, and other national bodies, I think that we have managed in the past years to re-emerge some principles for good governments and shared governments. And I think those will be my answers to your first questions. And I will just conclude by inviting you to all to have a look at the Council conclusion for 2023-2026, since in those conclusions we are actually listing all the different actions that will be taken in the coming years to foster greater participation in cultural heritage.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. There are a lot of points. I think that maybe you already replied to our second question, but maybe there is one point related that I would like to discuss more in depth. It's about the decision making. So how to release the kind of, let's say, right or ownership.
I think we will have to break down the value chain of this topic. So what is concretely cultural heritage, to better identify the different power imbalances that may result in a better, I would say, attempt to foster, just to reunite and to unite citizens. So when you're discussing cultural heritage and how citizens can be really the leader and the voices of its conservation, let's just have a look at all the different segments. It's about providing them with equal fair opportunities for trainings and for being able to scale up and to be equipped with dealing with cultural heritage management. Then it's about conservation and safeguarding per se, so very technical domains. And later on it's about the promotion, the visibility of the local cultural heritage, and so on and so forth. For each segment that I just listed, of course you've been very strong in advocating for digital tools, and it's absolutely true that digital tools enable us to broaden the audience, but the logic behind it remains the same. It's about providing to citizens with the right tools to feel legitimate at each stage of the conservation of cultural heritage, from the learning stage to the promoting visibility stage to the conservation, and so on and so forth. And this means that we must be very well aware of, for instance, how to use the EU, how to use our funds, how to use it as a resource. And I'm thinking about a bunch of financial instrument funding scheme, from Erasmus Plus to Creative Europe, but also we have a lot of opportunities for funding and the regional development policy of the EU. So what I would say, it's really to understand where our community stands, where do they lie, and that's it invite us to first of all to consult them. And thanks to our recent publication Culture and Democracy, I think that we have a batch of very good successful practices about how can we really connect democracy, democratic principles, practices with culture in cultural heritage. And
is connected to the last question, that is more about the value of integration. Because if we have to move forward to this engagement of community into decision making as well, I think it's very important the aspect of integration. And from my point of view, then the good integration policy can really have a huge value across this kind of important and quite complex objective today. And my last question is, how do you think it's possible to adapt different cultures, and especially today that we are in this kind of and see, we are moving more forward to kind of standardization mechanism, let me say. It seems like sometimes we are losing the fact that to protect differences.
Sure. So let me restate a few things, perhaps, Andrea, if you allow me. First of all, in line with the Treaty of the Function of the EU, so our legal base, the European Union is committing to promote a Europe diverse culture in each and every of its relations, collaborations, and actions. So we are part of the UNESCO Convention on the protection and promotion of the diversity of cultural expression, and we are doing a lot to really preserve this diversity. This is a bottom line and the guideline of each and every of our action on culture. I do believe in standardizing logics, principles, and tools. You're yourself a very pragmatic person working in the area of digitalization and entrepreneurship, and you know what I'm referring to. We're not, and it's not in our interest per se to standardize, and it's not at all what the treaties, it's not the mandate that we received, at least. It's not about standardizing or uniting. I would say cultures or traditions. It's on the contrary to make sure that they are flourishing and blossoming. Those flourishing, blossomings are actually the very precise adjectives that are in the treaty on the functioning of the EU. So this is our mandate to make sure that we are flourishing and blossoming. I will state a few points, and I will try to answer your both second and third question in doing so. It's all a question about ownership. Give citizens back, give them the tools to really engage with democracy, to really engage with decision making. And this goes through financial tools that are more than money per se. It's I would say a toolbox to feel empowered and engaged. I'm looking at Creative Europe. Just have a look at the way communities are gathering their instinct, their intuition, their tools, their aims and objectives, their dreams, creating projects in a transnational cross-border manner. Let's have a look at the CERV program, which is designed actually to empower democracy. So any kind of NGOs, any kind of citizen organization is eligible to those funds, even at a very, very local and small level. Let's have a look at the Horizon Europe, our research, and much more actually than research, innovation program is funding culture. We have received an increased and very incredible budget for Creative Europe in 21-27, and those are new opportunities for actors in the cultural heritage sector. And it's an opportunity to really like streamline and finance culture in a paramount and I would say long-term manner with more than 2.5 billion euros. And what I wanted to suggest is really to perhaps deep dive very briefly on some ways that we are really concretely creating this bottom-up beliefs in the potential of culture, this bottom-up commitment in cultural heritage, this bottom-up shared dream and goal for culture. And this is the new European Bauhaus project. So the new European Bauhaus, which was recently framed and right before the pandemic as the Commission answer to tackling climate change, is actually much more than I would say research and scientific led project. It's really a call to connect initiatives making a difference where people are living. So we are talking about fostering change at a very local level by financing projects taking place in classrooms, in shared gardens, in libraries, in heritage sites, archaeological sites, and mobilizing participants from Mexico to Turkey, Ukraine, France, and of course the entire European Union. And it's all about reconnecting citizens with their environment, with their surrounding, with what makes sense. And under this big umbrella, those are just concepts, we have different tracks that may inspire you. We have, of course, the new European Bauhaus routes. So those are a way to travel through Europe, through different heritage sites, and understand how in our history, in actually our heritage, in our DNA, people, communities were at the core and in the front row of innovation, of democracy building. So it's already something interesting. Then I think that we also have cultural European Bauhaus residencies. So those are grants for heritage professionals, for creators, for a fashion designer, whoever, to really receive money to go in a residence somewhere in Europe and process, deep dive, incubate a project, and then go back to the community and transform it thanks to what this person would have learned through this journey, through this residence. We have European Bauhaus prices, which is on I think it's a yearly basis actually, receiving 1,500, if I'm not mistaken, application through all out the continent, and it's an opportunity for education, learning, initiative, action to be financed. And of course, I think it's like grants of 30, and those projects are receiving a grant of 30,000 euros to really help them promoting this new European Bauhaus. So I think what Arti is actually looking into is interestingly very connected, of course, with digital tools and technologies to this concept of re-putting the ownership in the hands of the direct beneficiaries of democracy. We believe that citizens should not be the recipient of any lawmaking or lawmakers, but truly an actor and a voice. And I really encourage all of you, just to conclude, to have a look in the new European Bauhaus concept, opportunities, and core values. It's an opportunity to really reconnect cultural heritage with feelings of belongings, with places, with people, and on the long term to foster a more people-centered, more people-centered impact, also centered business models. And I think
Thank you very much, Gabrielle.
Totally. And keep going, Andrea. The road
sure.
is long, but you're not alone, and we are extremely fascinated by the work that you are doing with artists. So you have received our entire support, really.
Thank you.